Spider-Man Homecoming is the third incarnation of Spider-Man we've seen in this kind of generation. But this is the first time that he is in the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I really think that this is the best representation of Spider-Man we've ever had.
Sup, guys? Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away.
So Homecoming stars Tom Holland as Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, and it's directed by John Watts, who really hasn't done that much else. And, he does really well in this film. It's not a noticeable any shot or there's nothing really artistic or interesting about the shooting of the film, but it's an incredibly good job. I really enjoyed the movie, and there's really hardly anything I can bash that I didn't like about it. So it starts a couple months after the events in Captain America Civil War, and I really like how, in case there's a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, like almost 20, I think, and if you're not caught up, sometimes the other Marvel universe, whenever you get a new movie, you can be a little bit lost if you haven't seen all of them. So I really like how at the beginning of this, they kind of started with, it's not even really a recap, but it's almost like Tom Holland, Peter Parker was filming a little vlog about going to Germany and fighting with the Avengers and meeting Tony Stark and all that stuff. So they do like a little clips in the beginning of the vlog he made about what happens to kind of, so if you love Spider-Man but haven't seen the other Marvel movies, you can jump into this without missing anything. And I thought it was really an interesting way to do it. Although they never really show, in every other incarnation he's a photographer. And in this one, they never show him do any photography except for the video clip in the beginning of the film. But, they don't need to. That's not a defining character. So right off the bat, you get Tony Stark kind of helping him out, and Happy, his security guard, Favreau, as kind of has his between Spider-Man and Tony Stark. And I really like that interplay where, Peter Parker keeps sending a message about what he's doing as Spider-Man, and none of the messages are being answered, but actually Tony Stark is kind of keeping up with him and seeing how he's doing. But with Tony Stark, in all of the advertising for the movie, Iron Man is heavily featured, and he is not heavily featured at all in Spider-Man. This is a Spider-Man movie. And really, Tony Stark is only there to kind of as a role model or and try to help him out when things go wrong. And I think the only reason they did that was to make sure everyone knew going into it that this was a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie with all the other Avengers and Iron Man, so that to kind of take it so that people don't think it's another same thing where the other Spider-Man, try to distinguish itself from it. And I really appreciated that. But if some people go in expecting an Iron Man 4 or an Iron Man 3.5, they may be a little bit disappointed in this film. But I wasn't at all. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. It's really like the comic book, when he was young. Because the biggest thing, the other Spider-Men, they were both 10 years too old to play Spider-Man. But, they were serviceable in different areas. But as Tom Holland, I think he's perfect as both the young Spider-Man that is learning his powers and how to control them. And he's still an amateur. And he's perfect as Peter Parker, which is, a geeky student. And I think they never got the geeky right. In the original Spider-Man movies, they did a little bit of that, but the high school is kind of over right away. And in this one, you really get that geeky high school thing, especially the school that they're at. Everyone's kind of geniuses. So when you have Flash Thompson being a bully to Peter Parker, he's not like punching him or shoving him in the locker or anything. He's just ridiculing him. I kind of like that. That's how smart, mean people bully others. I thought it's really kind of cool. And also, I love this school because there's really diverse. Like, the whole cast is incredibly diverse. And that's what New York looks like. And I know some people may complain about some of the races of characters that are classically look different. And I really didn't mind, although I will say this is a slight spoiler, but at the end, you get a reveal of who Zendaya is. And everyone knew who she was. But the way they do it is just like, oh, hi, I'm that person. Oh, and it's goofy. Like, that's like a big reveal at the end. And it's like, I don't know, that's just kind of goofy. Just make her the character. Don't go through all these hoops where, oh, I'm not that character. I'm not her. Oh, but I am. Oh. And, they do that. I don't know why they do that. But other than that, I mean, every character really served its role really well. I especially enjoyed Michael Keaton as the Vulture. And I really think he comes in as one of the best villains from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I'd say probably underneath Loki as the best villain I've seen, I think. They could have done more with him, but at the same time, if you did too much more with him, it'd become like a Vulture movie instead of a Spider-Man movie. And I really enjoyed his character, and especially some of the interactions that Spider-Man has with him towards the end. Like, there's some tricky things come out, and I just love those moments. They really kind of combined real-life problems that teenagers have with superhero problems perfectly, and it's really fun. And the only thing I will say, though, is that the CG and everything is really good in the film, and I actually traveled a couple hours to see it in IMAX, and it's awesome in IMAX. But I will say that, like, some of the fight scenes with the Vulture, like, he's moving so fast that it's a little tough to see exactly what's going on every once in a while. But I still think that it was really cool, and I really liked how that, he's not, he's kind of a product of the Avengers films. And, like, all the alien technology and the other technology, like, he has kind of stolen it. And he had a guy tinkered with it to make these weapons and wings and all different kind of things it's really cool how they worked that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really appreciated how they didn't feel like they needed to do another origin story. Because everyone knows that Spider-Man gets his powers by being bit by a radioactive or genetically modified spider. And then Uncle Ben dies, and, with great power comes great responsibility. Or whatever that shit line the Amazing Spider-Man movies made to make it sound slightly different. You have the moral obligation to do it. Whoever wrote the script for that was a moron. But in this movie, they don't even mention that. Like, the best friend, when he finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, he's like, oh, can I be bit by the spider? Even if it hurts a little bit, I wouldn't mind. But it's like, no, the spider that bit me's dead, okay? So it's like, that's all they mention about how he got his powers. And the only thing about what happened to Uncle Ben is, like, they've mentioned a little bit about how she's Marissa Tomei is slightly depressed about it. They don't have to bring any of that stuff up because everyone knows it. You don't have to have Uncle Ben dying again. I also really enjoyed the suit because, it's slightly different from the comics and the other versions of the suit. But I think that how they had kind of crafted some of the extra lines, like down the sides and things, like, it really calls back to the other Avengers costumes. And I think that it really kind of fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like how the designs of it. And I love too that, how it's almost like a little Iron Man suit. Like, he made it with all these sort of things that And then once he unlocks it, he can do. And I have really cool stuff with that. With him, he is still learning. He is not full Spider-Man yet. And I think it provides a lot of potential for new Spider-Man movies. Like in the sequel, I mean, you can have him grow, you can have him be better. There's so much you can do with that you couldn't do if all of a sudden he's like, bam, he's Spider-Man. He's like, has all his powers. He's a pro at it. He is still an amateur superhero, and I love that aspect of his character in this film. I also loved Peter Parker's best friend and Spider-Man's man in the chair, Jacob Batalon as Ned. And I think his character is kind of from the Miles Morales comic. Because Spider-Man never really had a helper or a best friend like that. But I think his character is a nice addition. Because it shows, that instead of having like Osborn as a best friend, he had him. And that's one thing I worry that to stay away from all the other Spider-Man films, they may try to avoid using any of the villains from the other movies. And I think I would love to see Harry Osborn and the Goblin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'd love to see Venom and all Carnage and Doc Ock and all those characters. But I understand why they may do that. But for the best friend, I love their interactions, and it's a lot of cool scenes with them where, like, he's trying to get Peter Parker to reveal that he's Spider-Man, or have Spider-Man go to a party and have like fist bump him to make him more popular. It's a lot of really funny scenes with that. And I really think the script is very strong in this film. And some people could say that it's a little safe, but I think I understand why you want to be a little safe. This is first big collaboration with Sony, and you want to hit out of the park, but you don't want to. I mean, if you went too many risks with it, I think that would have been a bit of a mistake. And I think this is a perfect Spider-Man film. And when I think about it, where I would rank it with the other Spider-Man films, it's tough. Because parts of it are really good and it's the best ever seen on screen. But at the same time, Spider-Man 1 and 2 were amazing films, like classic superhero films. Like Spider-Man 1 is one of the best superhero origin stories you've ever seen. And, some of the costumes are a little corny and there's some other problems with it. There's a lot of film in it, but it's an excellent film. And Spider-Man 2 is it's such a really perfect film that I absolutely loved. So it's tough to say whether it be like my third favorite film or my number one Spider-Man film. I really think that I need to see it a couple more times before I decide. But I would give Spider-Man Homecoming, I think, a 9.5 out of 10. I would highly recommend it. Even if you haven't seen any of the other Spider-Man film and any of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films, like there's so much in this movie where even if like you're not a big superhero fan, they have all the like high school things. Like it's like a high school film too. It's not just a superhero film, and I think that everyone would probably really enjoy this film, and I highly recommend it. So if you like this review, you can hit like on the page. You can subscribe to me over here. And you can check out my other video playlists around my head. So thanks for watching.